Hello, I'm Anatole. This is my review of Swamp Thing Season 1, Episode 5, titled Drive All Night, and it scored 9.7 on IMDb. That score is a little high because the episode was released just a few hours ago, and I wanted to check on the score for last week's episode because it also was high, since I record these right after viewing and I view them right after they first air, so these scores tend to be a little inflated. And the score for last week's episode, Darkness on the Edge of Town, has gone down. It's now at 8.8, which is still amazingly high. And my thoughts on this episode is that it's the same as last week. It's another monster of the week. But whereas for last week I had problems because the monster was so contrived, the way the characters were met the monster, and the way that story related to the conflict of the characters was so unnecessary that for me it felt like it was just a wasted episode. And in a longer season, and Swamp Thing was planned to be 13 or 12 episodes, you could have a toss-away episode, but once they shortened it to 10, an episode like last week's, the fact that it didn't advance the story, it just advanced a couple the B plot, a couple of the subplots, then it feels like it was a missed opportunity, not the filmmaker's fault. However, this week, even though it was a monster of the week, it was integral to the characters, and it was not cheap like the monster last week. It had been hinted upon for a few episodes, and then after it happened, we see that it may have an effect on Abby's character, so we may have some personal growth for Abby. However, the one qualm that I have with the episode, and my understanding is there was last episode where there were the first episode to have rewrites that were due to the show being canceled after episode 10, and I'm going to guess that those rewrites centered around the plot, the story of the Jason Woodrue, because his story seems to be very clumsy, very contrived. So last episode, Abby just blurts out to maybe the one person in the world she should not blurt out, who has genuine reason to be suspicious of, along with Sunderland, the whole deal of what's going on in the swamp, under the guise of getting the help of Jason Woodrue. But that it just was very imprudent and only happened because they needed that plot point to happen. And then this episode, he wanders in on her recording herself, but it's just ever so convenient. She's recording things that are important to the plot, and he happens to hear. And then when they get involved in the conversation that she opened the door to having, because she was just blurting this out, even though she's supposedly recording it, it's just plot point. That then he makes this wild guess that the reason why the plants are reacting like animal matter is because of Alec Holland. I don't know how he made that intuitive leap, except for the fact that the story writers needed for him to do that. And because everything else is so well done, I have to guess that that is not so well done because it's rushed. It has to do with the 10-episode season, and so that may have been one of the major plot lines that was affected, had to be rushed forward, because it just feels like his character would be the kind of thing you wait for the very climax of the season. It would be an episode 11 or 12 plot line, not a 10. But I'm just guessing. And so the last thing I want to point out that I really enjoy about the series is one of the thematic elements. I had pointed out before, I felt that Sunderland was going to be used as a tool to illuminate what was happening within the town of Moray, and that he would be used as a corrupting influence. So even as far as, I think I made this comment in episode 2, that he would be ostensibly seen as a force for good, but with his money he was corrupting the judiciary, the newspaper, the Fourth Estate. He was corrupting the law, he was corrupting business, and that there would be this this opposition, opposing, that there would be within the town those who stood for the side of the swamp, or we would call good, and those who stood with the side of evil, and that Sunderland and his influences was bringing out those who would be standing with the side for the side of evil. And we could see this even more in this episode with Jennifer Beals' character, the police officer, how she's thoroughly corrupted by Sunderland, and she even hints in this episode, or we get hints that her son is also corrupted. So this is now beginning to feel like a noir, the way that all the gears of the universe are conspiring against the hero, and everywhere the hero or heroes look seems to be darkness, and that is both literal darkness and moral darkness. So yeah, I really love the series. I love the way that they're dropping in cameos of other characters from the DC universe. I thought the actor who played the Phantom Stranger was really good, and I like the fact he didn't look quite on character. He was just different enough. Normally that bothers me, but because I like the actor so much, I don't think they were ever going to get on character with their model. So the way that they portrayed him with just the appropriate hat, he didn't have the cape or any of that other stuff. It worked for me. I could see someone, if they felt there were problems with the way that Phantom Stranger came across in the episode, I totally get that. But for me, it worked. Maybe just because I really like that actor and his delivery so much. And in any event, that's it for now. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please leave any remarks down below and subscribe so that you can get more of my content in your feed. And that's all for now. Take care and be well.